Hello and welcome to another episode of Evening Crypto with your host, your boy, the real Shot 256. And tonight, I just want to do a quick update of the charts with Bitcoin. Kind of want to reference our last video here in a little bit from last week, where we were talking about the inverted head and shoulders that was building up, and it actually ended up playing out. If you guys were following me on Twitter, you guys definitely got the signal on that. Although I don't want to, I don't want to give the wrong impression. This is not a signal sort of group or channel. However, occasionally I will, give you guys some signals. You can follow me on Twitter at the Real Shot 256, and you guys can, definitely see when I put out these sort of signals on my channel. And then this is the latest update that I tweeted on December 2nd, Monday, yesterday in the morning, just kind of giving you guys an update on what I was looking for. So if you're not following me there, you guys can always, just go to my Twitter handle and see what I'm talking about there. But this is pretty much what I was following there. We'll get into that in here in just a little bit. I actually do want to start with a recap of the market. We're currently trading at under 200,000 or $200 billion. It is a figure that we haven't seen in quite a while, going back to about middle of May of this year, when Bitcoin was in the middle of that big run up all the way to almost 14,000. And 24-hour volume has been really dwindling down quite a bit. And you guys know I'm not a big fan of low volume. We were just a week ago, we were trading over $100 billion in 24-hour trading volume. We're now down to less than half of that. We were well over 100 billion trading volume in the last 24 hours. We're now trading way below that. Bitcoin dominance is still hanging around at 66% currently. Today is December the 3rd of 2019 in the West Coast United States. And everything's looking pretty reddish, for the time being. Bitcoin is sort of having another dip downward. Let's actually get into the actual charts and start really talking about what we're talking about. And currently we do see this price action here. We're looking at the daily, so this sort of matters, right? For the medium to longer time frames. We are looking at a bunch of red candles. I mean, just red after red after that, after red, after we did have a nice bounce off of this area in which I gave you guys a signal to buy right around 6,600, 6,700. I gave you guys a signal. Some of you saw that and did reach out and let me know that you guys were actually, taking a look at maybe possibly going back into and buying that dip, as we did see sort of a inverse head and shoulders. Let's actually head into the shorter time frame right now and start, kind of deciphering what happened. So, we saw this dip, found support around 6,600, 6,500, and that's when I definitely saw a great opportunity, and then from there we started bouncing. We did come up to sort of this, started building another consolidation base here, right around where the left shoulder was coming in. At that point, I was pretty sure we were going to get continuation because, that it really started to look like an inverse head and shoulders. And I gave you guys another update on Twitter, and we actually played that out. I think that was Monday of last week, exactly about a week and a day ago, so 8 days ago. I gave you guys a sort of a signal that, hey, this really looks like it's going to actually play out. We have the reversal candle here, this sort of hammer candle here on the 4-hour, which again is indicative of a flip or a turnaround in price action. We did get the follow through with two nice green candles there to indicate that, yeah, that was a legitimate bounce, and we did have that, again, that short consolidation phase, and then we had continuation, and we did ultimately culminate here around 70. What was it? 78.50. Getting rejected off of that area there at what was the high? 78. Yeah, 78.50. Was the high there when we were, and then we found rejection off of that area. We tried again one more time a few hours later, Less than a day later, the high there was about 78.10, and ultimately calling another reversal here, and we've just sort of been correcting after pretty much after this candle here back on November the 30th, and we've seen continuation here with just some correction, and again coming back to this previous area of support here where we built a nice base, and we are finding that currently Bitcoin is actually finding some support there, some really nice support at this area. So this sort of does worry me quite a bit, because again, going back to this chart here, before we broke down from it, that's really where I was paying attention, right? If we broke up to the upside, which I mean, at that point, I told you guys on that specific tweet that we were being governed by the 30 simple, which was not a great sign, again, because the 30 simple should not be such a big barrier to have some sort of move, right? So if we want to say that, if we want to jump on the bull wagon, then we definitely want to see price action get above that, because again, it should represent a whole lot of pressure downwards, and the fact that Bitcoin was being tamed by the 30 simple was not a good indicator of where things might have been headed. And in fact, we did have that play out, and I told you guys here, currently nestling around 7,300, but the 30 SMA was just acting as that suppressor, and was not looking so good. So 60-40 bears was kind of my take at that point. And then we ended up playing to the downside of that. And actually, let's bring out our drawing tools here, and here's exactly what I was talking about. Just looking like that 30 simple was just gonna dominate the price, and we were gonna get again rejected and break down from this sort of short-term trend here that looked like a triangle. So given that we got this move and we broke down from this this short-term triangle, it does look like we're going to have continuation. We are again kind of sort of finding a nice area here where there is plenty of support here. I do think that we can again trade sideways for a little bit, but ultimately it's looking pretty weak. Another factor, again, if we go back to this indicator here that I like to use, it whenever we see low trading volume, and especially selling volume, it's just an indicator that we might again, just something to hint towards where we might be headed. Low volume is usually correlated with a move downward. We did have a nice red candle set here in the volume down below, where we did have plenty of sellers coming into the market, and giving us the signal that there's plenty of sellers on the market when we got above the exponential here on the volume indicator, and just letting us know that there's going to be plenty of sellers coming in and actually drive the price downward even further. Again, the 7150 is not too bad of an area. We've built quite a base just from this earlier pivot, but then if we go back quite a while, we haven't seen these prices since May of this year. So there's, even though there's plenty of support at this area, again, the trend seems to be downward. Also, the RSI, the stochastic, did get rejected off of 21, and we're finding our way down to a lower range within the stochastic RSI, which again, it's just a momentum indicator, letting us know that there's plenty of momentum to the downside. So I don't think that we are going to get stopped here. I don't think Bitcoin's going to just turn around from here. I wouldn't be surprised if it did, but I'm not anticipating that. I am anticipating to have a continuation to the downside, because again, this is sort of the new trend, right? We did play out the inverse head and shoulders. That's all nice and dandy. We played it out. We culminated here at 78.50, and then from there we just pretty much fizzled out. Every seller came back into the market and started selling their Bitcoin back, and just redistributing on other people. So at this point, yeah, I mean, and again, we're looking at the 4 hours. So I mean, it's sort of meaningful, especially if you're looking to trade on shorter time frames, on more of immediate type of thing. So if you want to, if you haven't entered a short at these points, I mean, again, the 60-40 inclination, maybe 70-30 inclination, that we are going to find lower lows here, is definitely something that we're taking in consideration. That 70-30, 60-40 split to the bear side. Everything seems to be indicated that we are again going to come back and retest some lower areas. Now, I do want to take this guy off. Again, remember, keep in mind, guys, this wick here, pretty much, what was the low of that? That was 71.51, right? We're currently trading at 71.60. If we close a daily candle below there, which we are printing a new daily candle here, as of just a couple of hours, actually a few hours now. So I don't want to see this daily candle close below 71.50. If we do, that'll just mean, again, that we're at this point, because of where we are, I mean, it could easily be broken. So if we do close this daily candle below 71.50, then I am going to definitely look for a possible retest of this area here around 6,800, the low 68. We'll just call it 68.20, 68.25. That is going to be, again, the next area of interest to me. And then from there, we might actually set another lower low here by retesting the bottom of this descending line of support that has sort of been calling the trend for the last several months, since the beginning of the past summer. So, taking a look at this long trend line, or long-term descending line of support, which again now becomes the area of interest. If we break 71.50, then we're going to 68.25. That's going to be the next area of interest again. If we break that, then certainly we are going to come back and retest this previous area of support here, or this descending line of support. And I would anticipate a bounce at that point, right? I would anticipate a bounce now. And if we are to actually, I would like to see a retest of this upper line of resistance here, as we have seen in the past. I mean, it looks like, just from the past, just from recent past history, we got the top off here at 14.9 or 13.9. I'm sorry, retest here at 13.1, retest, no retest. So at some point, I do want to see this price, get maybe find again, some price around 6,600, and then come back and retest this area, maybe around 9,100. Hopefully that'll be the case. But again, we are continuing this downtrend. This is the macro trend, right? Now looking at the daily, this is the macro trend. We are having continuation of this downtrend. We have been getting confirmation of the fact that we are in a downtrend again, by setting these continuous lower lows, right? Here's a lower low from this pivot to this pivot, lower low, and then down here, and then once again here, and then one more time here most recently. So that is just an indication that we're, again, a confirmation that we're in this downtrend. So don't anticipate that we are going to come back and retest 14,000 or go to 15,000 before the end of the year. That certainly is not something that I am looking for. Crazier things have happened in Bitcoin land, but at this point, that is not something I'm putting my money on, my bets on. Even at this point, 71.50, not financial advice, but even at this point, not a bad idea to maybe enter a short. Again, not financial advice. I don't necessarily know if I'm going to actually do that. I did take some profits off of this area. I didn't catch the absolute top, but I did take some profits, and now I have a little bit of cash on the side to go ahead and catch another dip if we do decide to come back and retest, say 6,600 or 6,500, where we actually found a wick down here to, again, what was that low was 65.15, right? So that certainly will be possible, as we do see here again, just continuation on the red side or the seller side. People getting bearish and just having a nice amount of selling just coming into the market, right? So again, can't stress it enough. I do expect continuation of this. We might find a bounce here and there, especially because we've already printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 the red daily candles. Now, I will say this: if we maybe extend this candle, but then close it sort of like how this. Let me zoom in a little bit here. If we close a candle such as similar to this one, or maybe like a hammer, within this candle, that could actually mean that we do have a bounce, and then we'll wait from there. If we do get that bounce, and if we do get confirmation and start printing some green daily candles, then I will be looking for the 7,700 range, $7,700 to $7,800 range. If we break above that, we'd be probably setting a higher high from this pivot to the next pivot. And if we do that, then look for continuation, and we'll see where we set that new higher high. So those are some possible scenarios for you guys to be aware of. That's kind of what I'm looking at from my perspective and for my trading purposes. Again, not a bad idea to just maybe put in a short here, but just depending on how we close this daily candle here. Again, if we find something of like a hanging man or a hammer such as this on a downtrend, then certainly that could mean that we are ready to continue upward. All right, so the daily, and here's confirmation of what I'm saying too. The daily RSI stochastic is definitely letting us know that even though it's pointing downwards, we do have the 21 EMA coming in here. We are in the neutral zone here of the RSI. So if we do get a bounce off the 21, look for that. Hopefully you guys are paying attention to that, or just look into your stochastic. And see if we do get a bounce here on a daily, especially, right? If we do get a bounce here, then certainly that could mean that we are going to, retest this previous pivot high here at 77.50, and then we'll reassess from there. See if we actually get continuation to the upside, or we just get rejected again, and that would be sort of a short-term double top. And of course, usually we do see more red candles after a double top. All right, so but that's a few days out. We're still too early to call that. That's just naming some possible scenarios for you guys to be aware of. All right, let's go actually to the weekly candle and see what we find there. For that, I do want to bring out my my EMAs, MAs, SMAs. Let's actually clean it up a little bit more. Here we go. Downtrend again. We are in this sort of descending channel, and then our EMAs are letting us know that things are looking pretty bearish from a weekly perspective. I mean, we're way below the 21, the 30. Once we broke down from it, I mean, it's just been a massive sell-off. We are struggling to get above the 200 here, the 200 SMA. The simple moving average being price action being tamed by the 200 SMA, that is pretty significant. If we cannot get above it, then we're certainly not going to find our way up to 7,900. If we turn around, start turning around, and we can find a nice space above the 200 simple here, call it about. Let's actually click on this guy here, so to find where we are. Coming in right around, say, 73.50. As long as we remain under 73.50, then things are going to continue to look very bearish. And again, another indicator that we should be finding more continuation to the downside. We did have this nice bounce off of this previous, massive sell-off on the weekly. I mean, and it just, I mean, look, it's a massive. A red candle here, that just meaning just confirming that there's so much selling pressure. Again, we did have a nice bounce. That's to be expected. But again, the 200 coming in here to really tame and act as big resistance here for the time being. Are we going to find, and are we going to continue to see more of a sell-off come in? Again, I do think, again, unless we get above the 200 on the weekly, then we are going to continue to see that. Let's actually get onto the Bitstamp chart, because the 200 it can be printed on 200 cents. We do have, Bitstamp does have a longer price history. We can actually benefit from these EMAs actually being printed on such chart. So again, the 200 acting as the suppressor. We do have the 89 EMA sort of kind of wanting to act as a area for support, although doesn't look like it's respecting it at the moment. So again, another reason, another indicator that that kind of lets us know that we should be looking for lower lows. And then we do have ultimately the 200, which we don't want to break. We really don't want to go there. It's coming around the $5,500 mark. Definitely don't want to get all doomsday on you guys just yet. There are definitely a lot of things that are in the near future that we should be concerned with before we even talk about the $250-$500 Bitcoin. Although it wouldn't be bad for anybody who is expecting a bigger dip. But again, let's actually go back to the 4-hour and get some drawing lines in here. Let's actually work off of this one here. Now we're going back to Binance. So there's plenty of things to talk about here. If we're not breaking this path here, this descending channel, then there's no reason to talk about 5,500. We're right here where the 200 EMA is coming in at. Let's see where the 200 EMA is coming in at as support. No reason to talk about that yet until we actually break this this huge line, this huge trend line of support, right? If we do break that again, then 5,500 should be something that's all of a sudden in the cards. But at this point, there's no reason to talk about that. We've actually done the long-term analysis on Bitcoin here using the Bitstamp chart. And just looking at this, really more of the long trend analysis, right? As long as we're respecting this long trend line of support, there's no reason to be talking about going to 4,000 or 3,000 or $2,000 Bitcoin. I know Peter Schiff got on his Twitter handle and actually started talking about Bitcoin going to 1,000. I'm laughing at it right now, but certainly anything is possible. Although I'm not really concerned with that at this point in time, because again, there's just a lot of pressure on the way down. There's just a lot of things that we have to really break through or break down on the downside to even be considering about that. That's just in my opinion, that's just not something that you should be concerning yourself with, especially if you're a short-term trader like a day trader. Maybe if you're a swing trader, then you might want to hang on and wait for that. Although nothing's guaranteed in these markets, you might lose out on a bounce, a possible bounce. Here's what I'm looking at on the longer term. If I don't care if we particularly come back down and again have ourselves retest this bottom line of these descending support. I don't care if we do that all day and all night and for the next couple of months. That's fine, as long as we find a bounce here at this vertex, if I'm saying that right. As long as we find a bounce where this line comes in and this long-term trend of support, and we actually have a bounce here, as long as we don't break down below here, then again, no reason to talk about 4,000, 3,000, 2,000, even 1,000, right? Because again, we have this line of support. Okay, if we break that, we're going to 5,500, right? That's where the 200 EMA is coming in at. If we break below that, okay, now it's time to really talk about 4,000, 3,000, 2,000, maybe $1,000 Bitcoin, like Peter Schiff was mentioning. So yeah, no reason to really be talking about that. We do have the 377 also coming in here, way below there. But at that point, I mean, we're talking $3,000 Bitcoin, right? If we break down below the 377, and certainly 1,000. Okay, let's give. I would take my hat off to Mr. Peter Schiff and declare him the king of TA. But that's so far in the distant future that do not even want to speak about that. All right. All right. So that is pretty much in a nutshell. Long-term analysis. We talked about the 4-hour, what to expect on the 4-hour here for the time being. We're still thinking that there's more room to the downside, especially where we are currently. Clean this up a little bit. Rid of the EMAs. Okay, yeah. So again, guys, just looking for more continuation to the downside. I did think initially we were going to find some continuation off of this area here, off the 7850. But obviously we got rejected. Retested it again and got rejected once more, and then that was kind of the telltale sign that, hey, we were going to come back in a lower area. And from previous videos, I did set this sort of box of support here. If we break down below this box, then again, I was telling you guys we should come back and retest some other areas on the lower side of things. As I told you guys, 6,800 will be the next area of interest, which is at the bottom of this box here. And then from there, this previous pivot, and then this bottoming out here, hopefully at this descending line of support. All right, so hopefully that gives you guys some hints. Also, pretty funny. Oddly enough, this could kind of be sort of an inverse head and shoulders followed by a upside, if that's even the term, upside head and shoulders, right? Kind of shrugged, lifted left shoulder, and then we have sort of the right shoulder, extended right shoulder kind of building over here, which again would mean that we are going to come back and have continuation to the downside. Otherwise, this just looks like a nice little dip. I don't know that I want to buy this dip at this point. We'll see where this next 4-hour candle ends. We just started this new 4-hour candle here about half an hour, 37 minutes ago. So there's still plenty of time to see what this actually develops into. If it remains sort of as a doji candle, that could mean a reversal, yeah. But I'd like to wait for confirmation before I'd put on a long or start to change my mind around that. Okay, but here's something to really to think about. From this trend line, broke down below that. So that's certainly very bearish. If you want to adjust your trend line, again, confirmation that we are definitely bearish and we are looking for lower lows. Now we're going to find a bounce here. Now again, as long as we're above 7150, but then we don't break this box to the downside, we are going to be okay. Let's actually move this, shift this just a. No, I'm trying to move the whole box. There we go. There we go. As long as we don't break below this box here, we should be finding we should stay above. I know that kind of sounds pretty obvious, but as long as we don't break below it, we have a chance. Is really what I'm trying to say. Is we have a chance at actually continuing. Now this line should act as resistance, but there's no reason why we can't also just grind ourselves up against this line of resistance, and then ultimately, breaking above that. But again, 4 hours just letting us know that there's really nothing to be bullish about right now, right at this very moment and for the time being. Let's actually look at the 2 hour. See what the 2 hour RSI is telling us. Yeah, I mean, there's just continuation to the downside. 1 hour is probably going to print the same thing. Yep, it is actually trying to make a decision. It actually looks like it's trying to flatten out here. We did find on the 1 hour look, I mean, it looks like there's definitely flat sideways trading action here for the last 4 hours. But I'm looking more towards like a 4 hour, maybe like a doji or again a hammer candle to let us know that we could possibly expect a reversal. And again, we'll have to wait about 2.5 hours for that. Maybe 3.5 hours. Is it? Yeah, 3 hours and 20 minutes. All right, so I did want to get on here and just do a quick update for you guys, give you guys sort of a reminder of what's going on the longer term of things. I don't really want to get into too many alts just because everything is going to be looking pretty much the same, right? XRP, Link, everything's looking. I mean, look, Link is to my demise. It's looking pretty bearish. Although finding support right around this area here, right where our previous printed green line is right at. Hopefully it doesn't break that. Otherwise, we're gonna come back down and retest, have a retest of lower lows. Don't want to see that. BNB is actually looking like it's looking pretty productive here. Building a nice little base here. But ultimately, again, if Bitcoin continues to dump, then we are gonna see every other alt do the same thing. I do want to give a shout out to VeChain for its it's just continuation of a good looking chart here. Probably one of the best or better looking charts we've seen in the market. Although it does seem like it's printed a double top here. And what comes after a double top, we do see a big retracement after that. We should find, actually, let's switch this over to a red or a green, sorry, so that it does correctly represent our area of support. We could find a bounce here. Looks like it's being looks like it's being front ran, and we could find continuation to the upside. I would expect, if this is a true double top, I would expect VeChain to actually not quite come back and retest the high of this at 0.00799. I wouldn't anticipate it. If it does, I mean, there's probably a good chance that it will actually break out, right? But this could be an area of to find a nice bounce. But again, don't expect it to actually break out above this previous pivot high, because it does look like a potential double top. And again, we'll see if we break down below this area here of previous support, then that will definitely confirm that we have an absolute double top, and that's playing out. EOS, and we'll wrap it up. Again, looking as bearish as Bitcoin. If you do a trend line here, that looks bearish. If you adjust it, still looks bearish, kind of like the same thing as Bitcoin. So again, just as long as Bitcoin is printing lower lows, so is everything else in the market, right? Except for VeChain for the time being. VeChain is actually not looking so bad. All right, guys, I will wrap it up here. We'll leave it here. Leave it down in the comments. Let me know if I miss anything. Also, thanks for being here. Hope that you had a great Thanksgiving. If you did celebrate it, if not, happy holidays. I will see you guys on the next one.